See if we can make this look kind of nice. There we go. Got the semi-custom GoPro chest mount. Let's see. So far, nobody in the chat. It's been a while since I've live streamed. It's probably been about a solid month or so, maybe going on 2. So we'll see if anybody pops here. It's a little bit of weight. So probably camp this back just a little bit. Let's see. I wonder if I should go get my other phone really quick. I'm gonna go get my other phone just in case anybody does show up in the chat. I can go ahead and kind of respond back. 1 second. Ourselves into. Okay. So let's see how smooth we can do this. So new camera mount comes in. Cell phone mount. Okay. Check. So we got here. Handy dandy carburetor. It's soaking for a good minute. So this is Chem Dip. But try not to let it sit for too long because it will kind of start to chemically etch the aluminum if you leave it in there for too long. But it should be pretty clean. All right, let's see, got a little scrub brush here. And so I already pre-rinsed this right here, or pre-washed it, and basically it didn't look this clean even before I stuck it in the Chem Dip. I basically use, here, I'll show you guys what I use. Good shit here. I used Maxima, the chain cleaner. I'll basically just spray it on the carburetor while it's fully assembled, and then, scrub it with the toothbrush, and then just simple soak it in some hot water. And I have a little bit of Fabuloso added to that, just a very minor degreaser. But at this point, I'm just going to go ahead. I think there was a little bit of, just try to get all the crud off of it. Most shops, depending on how good their hypersonic parts washer is, some shops have one, some shops don't. But I like to have, just everything nice and clean so I don't have to worry about like dirt falling into certain parts as I'm assembling it. But for the most part, everything's pretty clean. Just kind of hit the throttle valve area, kind of loosen up that carbon a little bit. This side, it's a little light. So we forgot to pop that out right there. So we're going to pop out the top of the needle jet holder. So we use a, let's see what we got here. Maybe this one. Too big. On the smaller side. Get a slightly bigger one. Let's see. Maybe this one? Never know. There it is. All right, cool. So this carburetor has been fully disassembled. One thing that you also do want to do if you're doing a full rebuild like I am is there's usually a plug right here, and that's for your pilot mixture screw setting. And you have to extract that. Basically, what I do is I use a 1/4 inch drill bit and then a self-tapping screw almost, or just a regular Phillips screw, and then just screw it in so it gets a good bite, and then I'll put a pair of pliers and just pop it out, and you should be good. But we're gonna go ahead and clean this side right here. Just kind of get off that old carburetor material. Also, the main jet holder right here, the casted part, that's a little, it's kind of hard to tell. That could be a little bit of pitting and corrosion. That black surface, there's an O-ring that sits there. So what I might do, see what the, I'm gonna place the jet needle or the float needle in its seat. So usually I'll Scotch Brite that too, but what we'll do is grab a little bit of, it's a little bit of Scotch Brite. I'm just gonna carefully polish that a little bit by hand. Looks like it's a combination. I pretty much got most of the old O-ring material off of it, but those little patches, that's actual like corrosion where the aluminum is like pretty much essentially getting rusted out like how steel would. It's just a little bit different of a process, but usually gasoline. It's very corrosive. It'll start to eat through aluminum after a while, and that's basically what that is. So you just polish it out as good as you can. You don't have to actually try to polish those marks out, just so your new O-ring gets a nice, uh, flush surface on it, and everything else looks pretty good. We just wipe down this right here very lightly. That's where the float bowl gasket is going to seat against and seal. It's a very light wiping action. Looks like those black marks, that's going to be corrosion too. So this carburetor was leaking pretty bad. You could see like gas, just old gas, where the float bowl would meet the carb body, just like after years of sitting. So the gasoline being as corrosive as it is, it will etch an aluminum, carburetor like such, and there's really nothing you can do about it. That's why I feel, servicing or winterizing and summarizing a vehicle when it's been stored for a while and putting good fuel treatments or fuel additives will prevent this to a degree. But really, the carburetor, it's my opinion, the fact that that plug was in there on the pilot mixture screw tells me that this carburetor's probably never been serviced before. I feel like I was the first mechanic to go through it. So that means what if it's a 2005, 6, this carburetor is essentially 20 years old. Um, and it hasn't been serviced. So to maybe have prevented that, servicing it every few years on top of the fuel treatment would preserve your carburetor. This one's really not in bad condition. This one's in great condition, in my opinion. Usually they're a lot worse, especially when people don't clean them or disassemble them correctly. So what I'll do at this point now that I've had it set in the chem dip for just a little while here, um, just kind of, this is my hot water solution with a little bit of Fabuloso as a minor degreaser, and I'll just dunk it in there a couple times, and it's already pretty much clean, about as clean as it's gonna get. Now, what I could do is grab a little toothbrush and open up this valve. There we go. Screen glitched out there for a second. But yeah, that usually just wiping that down the surface where the throttle valve meets the inside of the carburetor body there. If there's any carbon, you want to carefully remove it. That would cause an irregular idle. I mean, not super, not like significant to where it wouldn't run, but it just won't be as crisp. And on larger vehicles with multi cylinders, it becomes, a little bit more critical for throttle valve synchronization, so they're all pulling in the same mixture equally. Um, that would become more important. But on a single cylinder engine, it's still important, but not super critical. Most manufacturers will call for it, especially on the newer fuel injected bikes like KTM's and Husqvarna's. They will call for like cleaning or decarbonizing the throttle valve or throttle body. That's pretty much it right there. Then the icing on the cake, we got a little hypersonic parts washer. I'll just throw this bad boy in there for an extra couple 10 minutes or something like that. Okay. And that's pretty much going to get in there, and just if there's anything that I missed, it's pretty much going to break it up at this point. But this carburetor looks like it's in pretty good condition from, the ways that, my method of servicing a carburetor. So we'll just go ahead and let that sit there about 10 minutes or so. Put that on there for good looks. Whatever. All right, cool. So don't got anything in here. Just kind of wipe this down. Okay. Nice. Let's see. What is that? A comment? What's that? JQ Country Side Outdoors, WSP. Copy. All right, let's see all the other little components. Okay, all the carburetor internal components here. It's my newer container of chem dip. Try to preserve it. It's kind of pricey nowadays. Used to be 20 bucks at Walmart. Can't really get this at Walmart anymore. So I think it's like almost like 40, 50 bucks or something like that at AutoZone. It's kind of pricey, but it does a good job. All right. It's really not too dirty. And the rebuild kit that I have an all balls rebuild kit. It does come with replacement jets, and typically it depends if the jets are really shot out or whatever. I'll go ahead and put the all balls in. But typically, if the jets are in good condition or cleanable, I'm going to stick with the OEM jets because the tolerances are basically the the diameter of the holes, the jets, the pilot, the main, the starter jet, all that. It seems that sometimes the aftermarket jets can be hit or miss. They may not be drilled correctly, and you'll get different fuel mixtures, and sometimes the carb just won't run right. You put in the original jets, and it run just fine. I've had that happen a handful of times, so especially on the Chinese ones. The all balls, though, I usually have good luck, but I just try to stick with the same practice. If the OEM jets are good, I'd rather reuse them. If the OEM jets are crap, and they're probably going to inhibit its running, then of course we're going to put the the all balls jets in there. But I'm just going to go ahead and carefully wipe down this throttle slide here, throttle valve. This is the basically the secondary or the CV, constant velocity. This is what controls the main jet circuit, depending on the vacuum pressure, which is controlled by the throttle valve. That was the part that was just cleaned a couple seconds ago. Okay, put this, got a couple little parts in here. These parts aren't really too bad. Let's see what this one looks like. That's the float bowl. Float bowl looks not too bad. So get in there. Rather let the chem dip soften up whatever gasket material is in there, and then use a nylon bristle brush to clean out these crevices instead of using like what would you call that, like a curved, or whether it be straight or whatever. It usually scratches the hell out of the aluminum, and I try not to do it on my own stuff, so I won't typically don't like to do it on customer stuff unless it's just like absolute poor condition, and there's really no choice, where time is money, and we're not going to wait a week for the gaskets to soften up. We're going to get them off and get it done so we can get it out. Typically what I'll do too is I'll use a little bit of gasket cinch on one side of the float bowl gasket, and then maybe a little bit of grease on the top, so that way I could pull it off multiple times if I had to. Typically on something like this with no engine modifications, stock air system, stock exhaust, stock jetting is going to work just fine, and there should be no need to reinspect my work or make internal jetting adjustments once the carburetor is fully rebuilt. Okay, one little dip for good measure. Clean enough. Okay, and let's see, the only other thing I really want to do is pull up this old O-ring right here, the main jet holder. It's kind of rotted off. Just kind of pull that off right there. It looks like crap. And just brush it off just a little bit. It cleans it up pretty decent. Stem dip works pretty good on brass, copper, aluminum components. And I'll just take a little bit of Scotch-Brite, just kind of hit that surface right there on the hex part. Basically hitting that surface right there where the O-ring's going to go onto. Just try to get off whatever gunk. Okay. All right, nice and pretty. Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead now and dunk these parts. Should be good. Oh, here. So that's the only thing about having this camera here. It's kind of lean, so I need to get the correct camera holder. That'll make a difference in my recording abilities because I'm kind of more focused on the freaking camera than what I'm doing almost. All right, we're just gonna soak these parts, get the chem dip off. Very nice. Okay. Go ahead and get this out of the way. All right. Okay. Very nice and clean. Sit there. And we'll put these parts in. That's good. So we'll just blow that off with compressed air. You go ahead and soak these parts. One more heated round. Should be good. Looks like everything fits in there. Nice and clean. And we'll go ahead and do a quick couple minutes. Good enough. All right. So now let me go ahead and hook up some air hose. Get some air hose. Okay. Some air hooked up. Flip flops are fully functioning. Look at this bike. Look at that thing. That thing's pretty cool. All right. So now clear. Good enough. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Pilot jet. I can see the light. Looks clear to me. Okay. Looks like we got some other jets right here. Main jet and starter jet. Okay. The coasting enricher diaphragm. Main air jet. Okay. What else? Oh no. Ugh. Okay. Right. So let's go ahead and do this first. So see how there's the open side, and the side's kind of like rounded and closed. You want that facing up in the carburetor. The main jet holder goes like that. It goes on that rounded surface there. So that should be facing up. Just drop that down the hole. Okay, and usually I'll kind of slightly push it in place if we have to. A little tricky making it go in sometimes. And it's being a bitch, but it will eventually slip right into place. I can get it doing this. No. Oh, a little windy outside. Why are you being a little bitch? No? Oh, there we go. So just took the right size punch, nice flat surface, and pushed that in just fine. All right, cool. So now before we put in that jet needle holder, let's go ahead and check our O-rings here and our all balls rebuild kit. Let's see what we got. So this is that O-ring. Go ahead and put just a little bit of grease on it. Okay. Slide that O-ring on. Okay. Right. If I'm not mistaken, should be an 8mm. Don't over tighten it. Okay. And we'll go ahead and grab our main jet. Two of them look the same. One's a 145 and the other one's a 55. So we're going to install the 145, and that's actually going to go into this thing right here. It's kind of it's like a splash guard. So constant fuel supply stays in the main jet. Doesn't splash around and cause lean spots. Go ahead and grab a slightly larger flat tipped screwdriver. Okay, good. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and take that 55 jet. That's gonna go right there. Just go ahead and tighten that one down. That's for basically your choke. When you pull that choke lever, choke cable inside, basically it's gonna pull fuel off this circuit right here. You're going to get 55 cc's per minute of fuel extra on top of wherever you're at to make it run extra rich. And then we have a pilot jet here, pilot jet size number 40, and nice and clear. We will go ahead and install that pilot jet right there and use our smaller tipped screwdriver. Okay, we have a main air jet. It's going to go right here to the left. And we'll use a slightly modified flathead screwdriver. It's not my other ones fit, but this one fits perfect. All right, so that's that. Everything should be nice and tight. And there's also, this is a carb warmer here. Basically grounds out the carburetor with the low voltage power to basically warm this up and keep it warm. You'll install that last after you put the float bowl on. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and put the coasting enricher diaphragm, and this little tip is going to face down to basically press on that ball that's inside. Make sure you line that up correctly. Your spring's on, and then it's going to be the two slightly longer Phillips screws with the split washers on them. Then we'll go ahead and use a Phillips screwdriver. Then typically what I do, we want to make sure you have the everything lined up. This right here is going to go on that opening, this hole on that side of the diaphragm cover where the brass is. So you get lined up with that little hole right there to the left. Oh, sometimes they come off. Yeah. Slight issue I'm having is trying to keep a good camera angle while not contorting my body in a silly way to where it makes it kind of difficult to do this. Okay, so diaphragm cover on, and I usually hold it down as I tighten up the screws. Okay, let's see what else can we do next. So that's all together. Let's go ahead and put our vacuum diaphragm in. Only goes in one way. We're not going to replace that jet needle. Usually what I'll do too is I'll kind of push it up like this and then flap over the diaphragm valve. Oop, I can here. Kind of sit it. It's being kind of weird right now. Looks like it might have swelled just a little bit. Hold on, I'm going to take off this camera. I'm struggling right now. That's why I was using the other mount. but it's all got good. Just be kind of momentary here. How's that angle? Good enough. All right, drop that in there. And this came with 2 new screws for the top. Go ahead and put those in. Interesting. So what we're gonna do, this thing's kind of acting a little weird. Spray a little bit of oil on it to kind of help it slide into place. The diaphragm's kind of worn out. It happens. Rebuild kit doesn't come with a new diaphragm, and sometimes, usually they're dry or they're all like this right here. This one right here is kind of this one's kind of swollen a little bit, but I should be able to make it work. Hmm. Okay. Looks like it's holding full pressure. Very nice. Checking the resilience, the vacuum diaphragm. All right, cool. I think that should work. If it doesn't, we'll notice at high speed it'll kind of cut out or do weird shit from like half the full throttle. And that would be more than likely that diaphragm there, which would be an easy replace if we did have to replace it. It's easily accessible from the top, so I'm not too worried about that. We're going to try to make it work to save the customer some money because I'm pretty sure that diaphragm itself is like $100. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on this O-ring right here. Cool. We kind of line that up. Freaking camera's in the way. I can't see what I'm doing. Float valve. Pin. It's right here. Like that. This. One side already has the mark on it. That. Then one of these screws, I believe it's this one. Let's see how many come in the kit. Looks like just new float bowl screws, so we're going to reuse. So kind of stripped. It's going to be this one here. And we'll put just a little bit of grease on it too. Just a little bit of grease on the threads. Okay, cool, cool. All right, check the float level really quick. Perfect. All right. So now we'll go ahead and put in our gasket. It's going to go that way. So what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of gasket cinch. I'm going to apply it to one side of the gasket or O-ring as best as I can. Always doesn't necessarily work out that way, but usually pretty close. Okay. Take that, set it in there. And this stuff is great for old gaskets, but I also like to use it on new gaskets to kind of like set them in there. And this stuff's pretty good. It's really not that contaminating. Like, you get a little bit inside the bowl, just kind of wash out a little bit. Okay, make sure that's pushed in there the way it's supposed to be. Okay, and then I'll just kind of top it off with just a little bit of grease on top. All right, cool. Go ahead and put the float bowl on. We'll take the new screws that it came with. Go ahead and drop those in there. ahead and take this O-ring out. Use this all the time. See how clean this is. So take off that O-ring. O-ring doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Clean off the tip, just a little bit of Scotch-Brite. Good enough. And here's our new O-ring. Take a little bit of grease. And let's see how this fits in. Interesting. This O-ring almost seems a little too big. I kind of noticed that too. Looks a little bit bigger than what it would normally be. That's a Chinese kit for you, even though it's an all balls. It might fit. Let's go ahead and keep trying. Either going to struggle or it's going to get in. Need a little bit more grease. No, it's not. Okay, so, well, it's a good thing the original here looks like it's actually in phenomenal condition considering. Almost makes me wonder, unless this was factory I have no idea. But this O-ring's in good condition and the kit didn't come with one, so we're just going to reuse it. And that's perfectly fine. All right, we'll go ahead and screw that back in. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2 3/4 of a turnout. I can't remember and I didn't write it down, so. Okay. So that's screwed all the way in. Let's go half, 1, half, 2, half, 3/4. All right, sweet. All right, and this is our drain screw. Go ahead and put just a little bit of grease on that too. And go ahead and tighten that all the way down there. Okay. Then last but not least, we'll take our carburetor warmer. And I believe that went on this. Yeah, went on this side. Let's take our 1/4" drive 10mm. Go ahead and snug that down. All right, boom, and here we go. One rebuilt carburetor. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break and we'll go ahead and put this carburetor in and see if we can fire it up, see what it does. We're also going to replace a little bit of the fuel line, the fuel pump, and the fuel filter on this. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, hit that comment box, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.